Hey, good Tuesday morning. Yeah, it's Tuesday morning. And I want to talk a little bit about our social media platforms. When I was growing up in Mineral County, West Virginia, throughout school, elementary school, middle school, I saw bullies. Yeah, I did. I was bullied, when I was in school. And I'm seeing bullies on social media. I've been seeing bullies on social media, and many of them are under the disguise of followers of Jesus. And I've witnessed bullying when it comes to politics. I've witnessed bullying when it comes to COVID-19. I've witnessed bullying when it comes to following the guidelines or not following the guidelines. I've witnessed bullying when it comes to the vaccinations that are available now. And you know what? Over my lifetime, I've witnessed friends who have been bullied that gave up on life. They gave up on hope. They just gave up because they didn't want to deal with the nonsense. Whether it was in school, whether it was at work, whether it was in their homes, or even today on social media. I see a lot of people disconnecting, but also know a few that disconnected. And when I say disconnected, I mean that they took their own life. Since March of 2020, this pandemic has hit so many families and so many individuals in a difficult way. Friends and colleagues who I thought were so spot on and so tough and so strong. They couldn't take it anymore. And last night I was thinking about different passages of scripture. And I was thinking about those times that I've witnessed bullying in my life. Now, when I got to high school, I tried to stop the bullying when it was happening to other people, when it was happening to friends or maybe the little guy or the little girl. It's not, that's not what life is all about. And passage of scripture that I want to share with you is from Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. It says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up the other. But woe to the one who is alone when he falls and has no other to lift him up." This is the time that we should be lifting one another up. This is the time that we should be using social media to encourage one another. This is the time that we should be reaching out for those who are struggling, or if you are struggling and everybody perceives you to be strong, reach out and just know that there are people like me who care. And I'm praying for so many of you who are struggling in life. The story I want to share with you today was shared with me several years ago by a friend who worked in radio. And listen to the story. Remember, the scripture said, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. If they fall, one will lift up the other, but woe to the one who is alone when he falls, and he has no one to lift him up. One day when I was a freshman in high school, this isn't about me, this is a story shared with me, and I'm sharing it with you. One day when I was a freshman in high school, I saw a kid from class. He was walking home from school. His name was Kevin. It looked like he was carrying all of his books. I thought to myself, why would anyone bring home all of his books on a Friday? He must really be a nerd. I had quite a weekend planned. I was going to go to parties and I was going to watch football. So I was going to have a good time with my friends all weekend long. So I shrugged my shoulders and I went on. And as I was walking, I saw a bunch of kids running toward Kevin. They ran at him, they knocked him down, and all of his books went out of his arms, and he was tripped, and he landed in the dirt. His glasses went flying, and I saw them land in the grass about 10 feet from him. He looked up, and I saw this terrible sadness in his eyes. My heart went out to him. So I jogged over to him as he crawled around looking for his glasses. I saw tears in his eyes, and as I handed him his glasses, I said, "Those guys are jerks. They really should get lives." He looked at me and said, "Hey, thanks." And there was a big smile on his face. It was one of those smiles that showed real and genuine gratitude. I helped him pick up his books and asked him where he lived. As it turned out, he lived near me. So I asked him why I'd never seen him before. He said he had gone to private school before now. I would have never hung out with a private school kid before. We talked all the way home, and I carried some of his books. He turned out to be a pretty cool kid. I asked him if he wanted to play a little football with me and my friends over the weekend. He said yes, and we hung out all weekend. And the more I got to know Kevin, the more I liked him, and my friends thought the same. Monday morning came, and there was Kevin with his huge stack of books again. I stopped him and I said, "Boy, you are going to really build some serious muscles with that pile of books if you carry them home every day." He just laughed and handed me half the books. Over the next 4 years, Kevin and I became best friends. When we were seniors, we began to think about college. Kevin decided on Georgetown, and I was going to go to Duke University. I knew that we would always be friends, that the miles would never be a problem for the two of us. He was going to be a doctor, and I was going for business on a football scholarship. Kevin was valedictorian of our class. I teased him all the time about being a nerd. He had to prepare a speech for graduation. I was so glad it wasn't me that had to get up there and speak in front of not only our class, but our families. Graduation day, I saw Kevin. He looked great. He was one of those guys that really found himself during high school. He filled out. He actually looked good in glasses. He had more dates than I had. And all the girls just loved him. Boy, sometimes I was jealous. Today was one of those days. I could see that Kevin was nervous about his speech. So I smacked him on the back and I said, "Hey, big guy, you'll be great." He looked at me and with one of those looks, the really grateful one that I remembered from the first time we met. And he had a big smile on his face. And he had a little tear in his eye. "Thanks," he said. As he started his speech, he cleared his throat and he began. Graduation. Graduation is a time to thank those who helped you make it through those tough years. Your parents, your teachers, your siblings, maybe a coach, but mostly your friends. I'm here to tell all of you that being a friend to someone is the best gift you can give them. I'm going to tell you a story. And as Kevin began to tell the story, I just looked at my friends with disbelief as he told the first day that he and I met. He had planned to kill himself over the weekend. He talked of how he had cleaned out his locker so his mom wouldn't have to do it later. And he was carrying his stuff home. He looked hard at me and he gave me a little smile. Thankfully, I was saved. My friend saved me from doing the unspeakable. I heard the gasp go through the crowd as this handsome, popular boy told all of us about his weakest moment. The moment where life was so hard and he was so tired of the bullying and he was so tired of being picked on in school and in the community. I saw his mom and dad looking at me and they smiled that same grateful smile. Not until that moment did I realize the depth of that moment where I stopped to help Kevin pick up his books. And not just help Kevin pick up his books, but I carried them to his home. And it was in that moment that Kevin realized that he had a friend. It was in that moment that Kevin realized that he wasn't alone. And it was in that moment that Kevin realized that somebody really cared about him and what he was going through. At graduation, I learned to never underestimate the power of my actions. With one small gesture, anyone can change a person's life, for better or for worse. Think of the comments you put on somebody's social media status updates. Are those comments positive? Are those comments helpful? Are those comments necessary? God puts all of us in each other's lives so that we can impact one another. For some, it's good. For others, it's not so good. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10 says, "Two are better than one because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up the other. But woe to the one who is alone when he falls and has no other to lift them up." Listen, if you're struggling in life today, reach out. Send me a private message. I'll pray with you. I'll talk to you. And we need to take care of one another. Be kind. Be like Jesus. This is Pastor Bill from St. Luke's United Methodist Church, Harrisville, West Virginia, Ritchie County, West Virginia. Wherever you are, I hope you're happy. I hope you're healthy, and I hope you're safe. Have a great day, and God bless each and every one of you.